Alright, hello everyone, and thank you for tuning in once again to the Black Box Podcast. BBOR, Black Box Online Radio, coming to you from West Virginia. Now, the presidential primary for the Democrats, as well as perhaps some of the other political parties out there, is getting pretty sloppy. I wish it was my own observation that some of these people in the primary could actually be running to challenge some of the incumbents for their Senate seats, such as there's a Republican who's up for re-election in Montana. We also have him in Colorado and a handful of other states around the country. Even the possibility of somebody like Mike Gravel challenging Dan Sullivan for his Senate seat in Alaska. When it comes down to is everybody has their eyes on the presidency, but Governor Steve Bullock could be challenging the incumbent in Montana for his Senate seat, and John Hickenlooper could be challenging the incumbent for his Senate seat in Colorado. Not to mention John Cornyn in Texas, who could be up against one of two challengers. If you're sick of Beto O'Rourke, and you don't think that Beto O'Rourke should run again for the Senate, excuse me, we're talking about the Senate now. If you don't think that Beto O'Rourke should run again for the Senate, Julian Castro, why can't he challenge the incumbent for his Senate seat? Because it's not only about winning the presidency, it's also about taking back the Senate and holding the House of Representatives purely from a strategic perspective. I mean, that's just... I wish that was my own original observation, but, you read the news and you hear stuff. That just happens to be something that I greatly agree with. One of the things, though, that I would say is my own kind of original contribution to that is it extends beyond the Senate. What about the House of Representatives? And if you look at somebody like Pete Buttigieg, he could run for the House of Representatives. Why does he think that he needs to run for the presidency right now? And to all the people that think he's some sort of rising star, this was planned a long time ago. Pete Buttigieg was on the list of potential candidates back in 2017. Black Box Radio was covering the presidency for a long time, and Pete Buttigieg was on the list of potential candidates. And I always thought, oh, that's kind of strange, the mayor of South Bend, Indiana. But if you look at that, the Democrats don't have a massive stronghold over Indiana. Is every single district in Indiana blue? I don't think so. Or what about Montana? Because that's the biggest one. The possibility of getting a Democratic senator from Montana. I mean, because Steve Bullock isn't a nobody up there. He was the governor. Talk about some name recognition or someone that people are familiar with. A very, very good opportunity to flip a Montana Senate seat. But everybody has their eyes on the presidency. And you really got to wonder, like, somebody like Julian Castro, who was predicted to be running for president back in 2017 as well, he could also run for the Senate seat. Not to mention, though, like, there are countless other districts in Texas. Gina Ortiz-Jones lost the 23rd district in Texas during the last election. She was, we thought she might become the first the first Filipino woman to enter into Congress. There are a lot of F's and M's in that sentence. Excuse me if I've jumbled it a little. Yeah, but Gina Ortiz-Jones was running for the 23rd district in Congress, which is the largest amount of border from any single district. It has like the largest amount of border in, I think that might be in the entire country, actually. The largest border with Mexico. Definitely in the state of Texas, that district has the largest amount of U.S.-Mexico border. And she lost. Well, hello, Julian Castro. Are you too good to run for that? This is the thing, though, that I'm noticing. What is the deal with the House of Representatives and its lack of prestige? Is it beneath so many people that they have to run for the presidency and not the House of Representatives? We mentioned Pete Buttigieg. He would be a perfectly good candidate to run for the House of Representatives. What about somebody like Andrew Yang running for the House of Representatives in New York, one of these red seats, something that is currently held by a Republican? Granted, Andrew Yang would never have exploded onto the scene if he had not been running for president, but in the future, Is this going to be the end of his political career? Or is he just trying to get a cabinet position? Or perhaps he's in cahoots with Cory Booker. Remember, that was my theory. There's going to be something about that coming up. But you have to examine this when it's like, some of these people who are running for the presidency could very well run for the House of Representatives. But when it comes to prestige, that's what we're talking about, right? Bill de Blasio or somebody like that, or any of the governors, like Governor Jay Inslee or something. Why can't they run for the House of Representatives? And I said de Blasio because his state has 2 Democratic senators, both of which are running for president. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I mean, I shouldn't have said that. No, Kirsten Gillibrand is, of course, running for the president, senator from New York. And the other New York senator is Chuck Schumer. He's not running for president. No, he's too busy fucking about in Washington. No, Chuck Schumer's not running for president. Got a few wires crossed there. Okay? But the point is, 2 Democratic senators from New York. And I was like, well, could Bill de Blasio run for the House of Representatives? And it's like, that just seems implausible. There's this sort of stigma against going from certain elected offices to the House of Representatives. It's like it's less prestigious. And we talked about this on one upload about how there is this type of sort of alternative historical model that the House of Representatives is actually less prestigious on purpose because the Senate is the barrier between the existing political establishment and the voices of the people. The voices of the people are represented in a district. Well, that's what a representative is. They represent the constituents in a district, and then the Senate is the barrier in between that and the political establishment. We did a bigger upload on that one in the past, but it's just, if you look at it, is that not true? Could you imagine Governor Jay Inslee running for the House of Representatives in the state of Washington? And the reason I'm saying this is the Democrats have a lot of House seats that they need to pick up. It's not like they have everything hook, line, and sinker. It's not like they have complete control of everything. Once again, from a strategy perspective, it's like some of the people running for president have no chance. Eric Swalwell is not going to be president. Sorry to hear that. And look at the names that we've mentioned. Andrew Yang and Jay Inslee and Bill de Blasio and Steve Bullock and John Hickenlooper. Highly improbable that these people are going to be president. If there's a blue moon, maybe these people one of these guys could be president. But I don't anticipate that happening. And it's not only me. There was this one poll out there, like, I was listening to a Seattle-based radio show. First time I'd ever done that, by the way. And they mentioned that in a national poll, Jay Inslee scored at 0%. 0. And they can actually show you the numbers about this many thousands voted for Biden, this many thousands voted for Bernie Sanders. How many people voted for Jay Inslee? 1 in the entire poll. And it's like, it's not alone for Jay Inslee, the governor of Washington. When you look at people like John Delaney, who's been on the campaign trail since 2017 when he declared, he's also polling at 1% in some polls. In other polls, he might even be at like 0.5, maybe 1.5% if he's lucky. And then you have others that I've talked about somewhat favorably on this channel. Tim Ryan, who is polling at even less than that. What I can say about Tim Ryan is we've done at least 2 uploads just on his candidacy. I like some of the ideas that he expressed in his books, A Mindful Nation and The Real Food Revolution. I got The Real Food Revolution on Amazon.com for 99 cents, by the way. But it's like, in terms of running a presidential campaign, I'm very disappointed in Tim Ryan. It almost doesn't feel like a serious effort. Not to mention, he's leaving out all the material in the books that I thought were actually the good things. I mean, there are a few lines in there, like we just said the name, A Mindful Nation. He talks a little bit about bringing mindfulness into schools and just sort of children and their emotional development. He'll have a few things here and there, but overall, he's neglecting a lot of what he is, of the points that he really built his career upon. Jay Inslee, to his credit, is not doing that. Jay Inslee's like environment, climate change. Jay Inslee actually called for a climate change debate, and they aren't going to be having that. A debate entirely devoted to climate change. Now, if you look at some guy like Inslee from Washington, one of the motivations for him to be running is perhaps he just wants to be the Secretary of Energy. And there's already talk about that if a Democrat wins the election and defeats Donald Trump, Jay Inslee might become the Secretary of Energy. Wow, this rambling has really gone on past all of the sort of lesser-known candidates, although we did not mention Seth Moulton. But we haven't even really talked about any of the big players like Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden. Well, this was more just discussing about how some of these people could be running for the House of Representatives or the Senate. And it's like, are we going to see something like that in the future? But what we can say is, it was not always the case that people it was beneath them to run for the House of Representatives from a different political position. We had one U.S. president who left the presidency to go to the House of Representatives. Who was that? John Quincy Adams, a former Secretary of State, the most influential guy in the Monroe Doctrine in the era of good feelings and all that stuff. John Quincy Adams. And there was actually one person that left the presidency to become a senator, and that was Andrew Johnson, but he died very early on into his term. So it wasn't always the case. They even talk about this a little bit on the show House of Cards, about how 1700s, 1800s, you could move around from political offices and no one would really think something about that, like someone leaving the vice presidency to run for the governorship. Political offices were treated much differently in the past, and being the Speaker of the House, which James K. Polk was, and James K. Polk was, someone who just didn't have any sort of name recognition on the national stage. He's actually the only Speaker of the House to go on to the presidency, if I recall correctly, and he was also the governor of, Tennessee, was it? So it's he had a political resume, just nobody knew who he was. They would shout, James K. Polk, who is that? We have quite a different world. Could you imagine people not knowing Nancy Pelosi or something like that? Could you imagine people not knowing Newt Gingrich? I mean, the Speaker of the House is a very influential position, but most Speakers of the House do not go on to become president. Gerald Ford actually just wanted to be Speaker of the House. He didn't even really have the exact ambition to become president, but you know that story. Looking at our current time that we are in now, you really got to wonder where it's a lot of the people are using this election to build up their own careers. They knew Hillary Clinton was running in 2015. They knew that she was going to declare her candidacy. She was going to spend $2 billion or something like that. They knew the election was rigged in favor of Hillary Clinton. Leaked emails, WikiLeaks, all of that. All right, it was kind of rigged. It was rigged against Bernie, unless you entertain that sort of Ed Opperman conspiracy theory that Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders were in cahoots the whole time, and it wasn't until the end of the campaign when Bernie actually started building traction. Bernie started building up his poll numbers and was like, holy crap, I can win this, and Bernie broke away from it. Why would Bernie be in cahoots with Hillary Clinton? Just to make it interesting. Also, Bernie's a politician like anybody else. Bernie Sanders is a politician like anybody else. He also is power hungry. He's tried to become president multiple times now. Joe Biden has tried to become president 3 times. But the thing is, though, with Joe Biden, we know that he is an establishment politician. We know that he is a career politician who has just been all about being elected to public office, even though we know he's not that good of a person. The reason why so many Democrats are supporting him is because they think he can defeat Donald Trump. That is it. Electability, that is it. Unless you want to say that he has a kind of bland subversion of Democratic politics that might be not so offensive, or people who haven't signed on to the Bernie Sanders campaign yet. Remember, Bernie is not the leader of the Democratic Party. Not all Democrats are Democratic socialists. So, when it comes to somebody like Biden, though, the first and foremost thing is many Democrats are supporting him because they think he is an electable candidate, and the second reason is because they have not subscribed to democratic socialism. But is somebody like Kamala Harris actually going to win the nomination? Because when you look at all the polls, and I know polls don't mean anything, there was that great line from Thomas Sowell when he was like most Americans, I have never talked to a pollster. What do these polls really mean, right? Well, when you do kind of examine the things, Kamala Harris is always like at 7% or 8%. You might see a little bit of a surge from Buttigieg, and then his numbers will go back down. But is Kamala Harris going to break through? Is she going to be the next one-term senator to go on to become president? Although I'm saying that, all these things about senators being prestigious, there were only 3 senators that have gone right from the Senate into the presidency. Could Kamala Harris be number 4? Now, this is kind of embarrassing because I forgot the third one. Barack Obama was a senator, right? John F. Kennedy, and there's one more, and it's lit my mind. Kind of embarrassing, but anyway, there have only been 3 senators who have gone straight from the Senate and into the presidency. Most people have served as as we mentioned, a governor, or a lot of people in the past were secretaries of state. I mean, previously mentioned John Quincy Adams and all that. But when you want to talk about the possibility of Kamala Harris winning, I think it's very likely. I don't think she is someone that we should dismiss. And I notice a lot of people also do not like her record in California. They think that she is once again just an ordinary career ladder climbing, power hungry politician. She is someone who just wanted to be in the establishment. They don't believe that there is a genuine bone in her body, but they would like to see her defeat Donald Trump. And they think that she is a different brand of the old establishment. What do you think? What do you think about anything we've put forward? Until next time.